Okay, you are live.
Good evening, Stonecrest. Welcome to the November 23rd work session of the City Council of Stonecrest. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Okay, good evening. Councilmember Jimmy Clanton,
Here.
Councilmember Rob Turner,
Here.
Councilmember Jasmine Cabo,
Here.
Councilmember George Turner,
Here.
Councilmember Tammy Grimes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. You have your agendas before you. First thing on the agenda is COVID CARES Act Relief Fund Committee update. And the second item would be ice skating rink in Stonecrest from Parks and Recreation. Are we ready with the COVID CARES Act Relief Fund Committee discussion?
Yes, sir. I believe we are. We'll have Clarence Boone give an update on the Small Business Relief Fund, and Iris Settle will talk to us about the COVID CARES program.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Manager Joyner and members of the council. We went live with the application process through the city's website last week. Currently, we have received 30 applications for small business relief, of which we've vetted. We will be sending the first series of payments on tomorrow or before the end of this week, and for those applications that we've received thus far, the program is working as expected, with the AEI Startup Factory being the facilitator of the program, in turn being able to submit all applications that have been received to CB Keener LLC for the vetting process, in turn being able to send those to the Economic Development Department, where we have evaluated all of those for potential awards, and in turn going to municipal resource partners for payment. There are some that will be paid, some that are pending applications once the process goes through. Those that are pending are in the process of being contacted for questions that have concerning their application, and then there's some that we're holding on to for a later evaluation if funds are available at that point because of the amounts that they've asked for. But that's where we stand currently.
Mr. Boone, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Boone. Question
Yes,
in
sir.
regards to the amounts. You said the amounts. Are there consistent amounts being requested across the board, or how are those amounts fluctuating or varying with the applications coming in?
Well, there have been some that have been very very aggressive in terms of the need that they're looking for, and based upon the information that they have, we did, as you know, Councilman Rob Turner, we have asked for them to be able to specify their need as it relates to what they're looking for, to be able to substantiate their need. Some of the needs are large larger than we had originally expected to be able to pay. So we're holding those back. The likelihood is that what is expected on those large amounts, that we will be able to give a significantly smaller amount than they requested, hoping that they will appreciate whatever we have been able to give. But for the most part, a lot of the receipts have been within the parameters that we initially suggested at the different tier level, and that's what we're going to be able to support at this time.
And do you have a timeline in reference to the release of these funds to these applicants?
Oh, we have gone through the vetting process on that, and we believe that we'll be able to submit payment either by check before the end of the week, or have them meet us on Monday to be able to receive the funds. But the concern is to being able to make sure that the person that requests the funds actually receive it. So we're looking right now about as to whether it's practical for them to come to the startup factory to receive the funds, or if we'll be mailing them out.
All right, thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Boone,
Yes.
you
Councilman
said that there were 30 applicants that
Yes.
had been vetted,
Yes.
and is that in total?
That's in total, but actually that's a great question, Councilwoman Grimes. We've actually had some that have been duplicates that were submitted separately, but for the same application and same amount. So technically, we probably have about 25 that are actually live single submission applications. So that's where we are right now with that.
Okay, and then you went and you broke the category down and you said some are ready to be paid and some are pending. Can you put a number to that?
We will be paying 5 right now. The others once again are based on information that needs to be clarified on the application. Perhaps they left some information off, and we're actually waiting for some responses, I believe, for 3 to 4 of those, and the others are amounts that are larger than we expected, and we're waiting to see after we've gone through the first wave if there is an opportunity of being able to satisfy those.
Okay, so here's my I guess not final question, but one that kind of puts these. So we're looking at 9 who probably are ready to take some funding from our funds.
Yes.
The other 16 that we have,
Mhm.
which category do they fall into? All of those are the ones that are larger than what we initially.
No,
Okay.
not all of those are larger than what we were prepared to do. One of them, for example, is one of the things that we're looking at is to be able to find out for the businesses that we're looking to award. What is the situation that they're in right now? Are they looking to stay? Are they closed right now, or are they still operational? Secondly, how many employees are they looking once they're established looking to hire back? And third, how many people are they expecting to hire on as creating additional jobs? Because one of the things we want to be able to do for the city council at the end of this program is to determine how many companies were saved, how many people were hired back, and then how many jobs were created.
Okay, I'm just writing this down. Saved,
Okay.
hired back, and created. So those
Yes.
are really caveats those are really the classifications that we're looking at the end of the awarding period to be able to surmise. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are the 3 questions. Is the business currently operational? How many people will be hired back? And then how many new jobs are created?
Okay. And so here's my last question for this.
Certainly.
We don't want to leave any money on the table.
Absolutely.
So in the event that these other companies, what we thought, because this just doesn't seem like a lot of companies for the amount of money that we have. And I know we have it already kind of separated into various pieces of the project that we want to have. But what I'm concerned about is us I won't say withholding, but holding the money from those who may be asking for more because they're asking for more than what we anticipated. But I don't want us to run into the snag of leaving money on the table. That's definitely not something we want to do.
No.
That doesn't look good when we
not at
leave
all.
money on the table. And I'm just talking about just personal experience with budgets and things, in the school
Right.
system. So I just want to be on record saying I trust that you guys will do as much as you can do humanly possible to make sure that we come as close to running 0.00 left in our COVID cares or our COVID relief funds as possible.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
in fact, to one of the things that we're looking at, Councilwoman Grimes and the remainder of the council, is that if by the measure that we've utilized so far, if we've only gotten that number of applications. And actually, I'm looking at my email right now, and we've gotten 6 since 6 in the last couple of hours in the last hour and 15 minutes since we shut down. So we're getting more. But do we need to reevaluate the way that we're marketing it to be able to make sure that we reach more people? So
Yeah.
that's
I've been verbally doing it, especially with the small businesses that I frequent
Right.
in Stonecrest, just to say, hey guys, do you know, go to the website, fill it out now, not tomorrow, but fill it out now,
Right.
because we're running up against that December deadline. So, okay, that's good. Good to know that you might be thinking about remarketing, because we got to get this out.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I've got a question, Mayor Pro Tem.
Right.
I guess this is for Clarence as well. I know, you mentioned that the small business are categorized, they're segmented in different qualifiers.
Mhm.
How many of each category of those applications have you seen? So of those 30, and I guess plus the 36 that have come in, are those mainly in one tier or the other? Are they pretty much equal throughout those tiers? What are we seeing?
It's honestly, Councilwoman Cobble, it's across the board. I would say that it's probably not equal. Probably the greatest number exceeds the highest tier that we're looking at. So we are in a position right now of evaluating even those that have been set aside. We're looking at that to be able to evaluate what they're, based upon their level of need, what would be an accurate resource being able to give them. And honestly, that's why a lot of them are being held back to be able to make phone calls to be able to further question their application.
Okay, so some of them are hard to tell which category they fall in.
Yes.
Like, I can't remember the designation we went with, but I know there were some we considered. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, and I should pull it up. But tell me again the different categories of the small businesses. Right, we talked through some of the qualifiers that you all had come up with, kind of the first go around.
Right.
Well, how do we determine this or versus that? So are you saying that in those applications, we can't yet tell how many are in each small business category?
We can evaluate that. But as I said, a lot of there's a question that asks how great is the need, how much is being requested, and in many cases, the amount being requested is larger than our highest tier. In a
Right.
couple of cases, significantly higher.
So I'm talking more so about not the dollar amount they're requesting, just in general, the type of small business. So are we seeing more in, I wish I had it in front of me so I could be more clear about my question, but help me, Rob, each small business, you all have divided though into groups.
Right.
And so give me a name of one of the groups.
Name of one of the groups was the bronze category. That was probably retail. It's probably retail, or and out of retail, we've not received anyone from retail yet.
Okay.
The restaurant tier is probably as active as anything else. I think we received 3 to 5 of those applications. Small business, which is the smallest tier, was small home-based businesses that were less than 5 people, and in many cases that tier were some that asked for the most money.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, I probably wasn't clear the first time. I was more curious about how many businesses were in each category versus not so much how much they requested, but what was the trend that we were seeing? More small business, more bronze, more gold, more restaurant.
Councilwoman Cobble, unfortunately, we haven't categorized it that way. but I can certainly put that together for you and send it to the council.
Okay, I just asking those things because maybe we could help in those efforts to say, we have, less than 5 in certain category. Let's the council members really target, the retail, or, we have a ton in restaurants. We don't need any additional marketing there. Clearly the restaurant industry has gotten wind of the message, so we're okay there, but maybe there's, some other areas that we could focus in on to help market it a little bit more, which is kind of why I was asking what did that trend look like thus far. But it seems like maybe overall we could just help in each category.
Yeah, exactly. In reference to what Councilwoman Grimes said, we need to sound the alarm because time is of the essence.
Right.
And we need to get out there and make sure that we spend all this money, give all this money away, because there are people hurting. Some don't know about it. Some need to know about it. And if we can send some information out to people in our district, I think that'll be great as soon as possible.
I agree with that. I think that naturally we were expecting the organic flow of the information being expressed in city council meetings and some other meetings, that we probably would have received a higher quantity request initially. But as I mentioned with Councilwoman Grimes' great question, considering that we need to take a look at some other marketing efforts to be able to make sure that it reaches a broader sense with the business community.
Okay, one last question, I promise.
Councilwoman Grimes, before you kind of do the question, anyone else who has not spoken want to chime in?
Sure. Mr. Boone, I don't know if you had completed your presentation or not, so I don't want to get ahead of your presentation and ask you questions about additional funding efforts and the like, if you are heading in that direction already.
I mean additional funding sources.
Well, what I'm just trying to ask you, are you done with your presentation right now, or is there more to come?
Oh, yes, sir. I was just answering a question.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Well, all right. Then I'll go ahead and ask my question in regards to individuals who are not looking for business help, for people that are looking for personal help and personal opportunity. The Stonecrest Cares portion of the this distribution. How is that looking?
Regarding Stonecrest Cares, sir?
Stonecrest Cares, individuals that may be seeking help. Additional mechanism that we've set up or discussed.
Okay.
Councilman, we're going to have Iris Settle talk about the Stonecrest Cares program.
Okay, sure. That's what I was just trying to make certain I didn't get ahead of the presentation. So if there was something else coming, I can just wait and listen.
Correct.
I apologize. I should have made myself clear.
Oh, no problem. I'm good. I can wait. Thank you.
Councilwoman Grimes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Boone, if you will, at some point, can you provide a list of the, I guess, the awardees?
We're prepared to summarize that once we've, as I believe, I forgot the time period that was discussed, but we'll certainly make sure that you're aware of the awardees.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, what we'll be doing is our committee won't meet this week, but next week we will meet, and we'll pull together a written report that we'll distribute to the council prior to the next meeting. So there'll be a written record of what we're doing that'll have all the categories and the various tiers and those type of things. For the council for review at that meeting, because we just got our first application in last week, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We got our first application in Friday, so basically of the 29 we've received or so we've basically received those in 3 business days.
Correct. One thing that I did not hear, and that this might help illuminate some things for us. What about businesses that have closed due to the pandemic? And I know we're trying, a lot of the stimulus package was really to help sustain and keep businesses open. But what about this has been going on since March. So what about businesses that couldn't make it, and they've had to shut their doors and they're no longer operational. They had to lay folks off. Are those some of what are we doing with those businesses?
That's an excellent question, Deputy City Manager Joyner. Those are actually some of the businesses that we're still pending. We're reaching out to them to find out what their status is. In fact, we called several of those today to be able to determine where they stood. I personally called a couple of businesses that provided me with a phone number to be able to be reached, and there was no answer. A couple of them were, I think one of those had a number that was disconnected. So looking at that situation versus what their projection is in terms of getting their business back on track is something that we're looking at also. So to all of your questions, that's one of the reasons why some of these are pending, because we want to make sure that if that's the case and we can help them out, is this a business that will be that what is their level of sustainability right now? Hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah. No, that was excellent, because I know we had some vigorous conversations about this in the committee. I think we even talked about that a little bit here at a city council working session about sustaining business versus businesses that are failing, or are we going to be able to save some? I think that really needs to be the question.
Absolutely.
Can we save? Or do we have enough money to save them? That type of thing.
Deputy City Manager Joyner, obviously we realize from this program that we can't help everybody, so we're trying to make sure that to the extent we can, that we spread the money around and other resources that have been available to be able to make sure that our business community is stronger as a result of this program.
Okay.
Boom.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the name of the group or firm that's going to help vet these applicants.
Yes.
Again.
CB Keener LLC.
Okay. I think you've given it to me before, but I just didn't have it.
It's not a problem.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
And also, you mentioned a written report at the last session, I do believe, and I don't recall getting one. But since now you say you guys are going to provide a written report, who do we turn to out of the group to render that report?
Right. As Deputy City Manager Joyner just mentioned, the program went live last Friday. Considering the amount of notice that the reports had to be submitted in advance of today's meeting, we didn't have enough activity at that point to be able to discuss what we've been able to award or the numbers that we've been able to receive.
But we're turning to you to get the report to
Yes.
Deputy City Manager.
I will submit it to the Deputy City Manager for inclusion.
Okay, good. I just need to know who to turn to.
Okay.
Anyone else?
And I believe the Iris is.
One other thing.
And then there's a part two when we get through with this part. So,
Yes.
Mr.
Excuse
Joyner,
me.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Go
Mayor
ahead.
Pro Tem,
Councilman Turner.
one other statement, that these meetings will be on Zoom, so you will be able to access those meetings live as we have those meetings. I think it's very important. If the council is available, accessible to attend those meetings, I think it'd be good to maybe be able to answer or even ask some questions or concerns you might have. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. Okay, we ready for part two?
Awesome. Yeah. Part two is going to be Miss Iris Settle talking about our Stonecrest Cares program. Is Iris still here? I saw her on. No, I don't see her.
Deputy City Manager Joyner, I just got a text from Iris that her phone died, battery died. So I'm prepared, knowing a great deal about her program. I can specify, I can give a report on her behalf. Obviously not as robust as hers will, but I know a good deal about it. Considering the need for our citizens in terms of being able to receive support through a variety of mechanisms that they've been affected by with the pandemic. One of the things that we did as a committee was to realize that there were needs that existed, that if we were to if we were to try to replicate those programs, in other words, feeding the hungry, being able to provide resources for rental or housing assistance, being able to take care of utilities and things of that sort, that we didn't have the capacity as a committee to be able to build those programs. As a result, what we did was we took a look at groups that were experts in that field. Mainly in our city, experts are the churches in the community as well as nonprofits. So what we've been doing is reaching out since last week. We have had a call center that's made up of a subcommittee of this group to reach out to all the committees, all the churches in the area, to be able to make sure that they are operable, that they have benevolence programs, and then to be able to come up with a program to be able to support them through a partnership to support what they're already doing. And as such, being able to get that list and put it on the Stonecrest Cares website so that support can be redirected from citizens' needs to those churches and other organizations to be able to meet those through the resources that we'll be sharing with them. And we're looking at some of the key larger churches that are in the area. But the goal is to be able at some point to give every church in the city of Stonecrest some funds to be able to support the needs that exist there, and then being able to put them on a list where with information, phone numbers, and addresses and emails, so that citizens can go to those organizations for support. Oh, there's Iris. Okay. Iris?
Hi, you guys. I'm back. Sorry about that.
Iris, I was just sharing with the city council that we're partnering with churches to be able to offer support to citizens, and we're looking at them as the experts in terms of being able to deliver that relief.
Yeah, that's so important. One of the things that when Stonecrest Cares was started, a lot of people kind of thought that maybe we were in the business of doing all these different things, but what Stonecrest Cares really is a resource of those small businesses, particularly those nonprofits, that can deliver the types of services that we need to have delivered. For example, and I'm sure Clarence mentioned it earlier, when we think about, in terms of feeding the community, when we were looking at New Birth, what a great partner for the King's Table for us to be able to donate to that nonprofit, to allow it to be able to provide the services to those people who are out there in need of food. Just like we did last Saturday in terms of the donations that we got from our partnership through Home Chef, and also through the boxes that we were able to give out last Saturday, with over 1,200 to maybe 1,300 people total once we add all the numbers together that were out here on Saturday. So we're utilizing those services, utilizing the services when we hear about different programs that are available to help people pay for their rent and pay for rental assistance and pay for other assistance through utility companies. So we're looking for those types of nonprofits that can be in a better position to pay for and be in a better position to provide the services of providing the need where people have been so desperate during this pandemic. So, we're just grateful that there are people out there doing that, where Stonecrest Cares is not finding itself doing that, because again, we're in the business of finding those resources so that people could have them in order to give back to the community. So we were just really pleased of those partnerships. We had a partnership where we worked with a nonprofit where they were able to get food out the other day, to counselors in DeKalb County for Stonecrest schools, where we knew parents needed food. Also, I'm sure Clarence mentioned when you and the other Kappas went together and took a whole pallet of food over to District 5. I mean, there's just so much that we can do in terms of working with other organizations and nonprofits that allows us to service the need. So as we're working through this program, so that we might be able to do that. And that's one thing that I'm surely proud of. Also, for example, working through nonprofits, just like with Courtney Dillard. I mean, anytime we know that all the students here in Stonecrest who have a desire to go to college, that your college tuition is paid for and guaranteed for you to get a scholarship, a free ride if you're a Stonecrest resident. If your GPA is between 3.0 and 3.2, that is a tremendous help through nonprofits that are already doing that, wanting to partner with us in Stonecrest Cares in the city of Stonecrest, so that every single student in this city who desires a college education has that opportunity to get that, and to get that free ride to college to over 500 colleges and universities in this city. That is a big deal. And that's why we love working with other nonprofits, because they're already in the business of providing the service. We're just building those relationships so that we can become partners.
Good. Council, questions?
I have a question, but I'll let, I think Jimmy was going to ask something more specific to Stonecrest Care, so I'll yield. And then if he has his questions, then I'll come in after him.
Yeah, I'm pretty well satisfied with the basis of the report that Iris just gave. I think the public probably need to understand the relationship with some of the nonprofits, particularly the scholarship program and giving students full rides. That's a great benefit.
Yes.
So I was wondering, what were the programming set up, or how do we communicate? I guess this is a better way to frame this. How do we communicate the programming set up for individuals within the city of Stonecrest to receive Stonecrest Cares funding, food, or help in any way? So I think that should be elaborated on just a little bit.
Okay, some of the information's on the website. When it comes to the college funding, there are going to be college fairs specifically for the schools, the high schools that are here in Stonecrest. We'll be working directly with those schools so that children can come in and also log in virtually so that they can learn about the opportunities and how to receive those funds and how to utilize them properly. So we will be, most of the information you can get through our website now in terms of, what type of services that we have. But as far as the partnerships and the funding, then that's something that we're utilizing specifically where we can target, and we're utilizing target marketing so that we can target these markets, target these zip codes so that people will know what's going on in terms of the needs that we have in the community and how we can serve them. That's why when we're able to have certain events, everybody shows up because they know what's going on.
Okay. Anyone else?
Great question.
Councilwoman Cobble.
Yeah, so I guess my question was probably similar in, I know we had early discussions on dividing more of the share of the COVID funds that we did receive as it passed through from the county between the small business effort and what we're doing to serve our community. And we talked about things like rent assistance and utility assistance and, those things specific to Stonecrest Cares and the residents, a little different from what we were developing for the small businesses. So similar to Councilman Clanton's question, just curious on, and I guess now, which is good news to have, is that you're saying that you're taking those funds and donating those funds to a nonprofit who is facilitating receiving those requests from the residents and providing those resources via those nonprofits or those churches. So when residents are coming to us and saying, I've heard you got that Stonecrest Cares money and I'm in need of rental assistance or utilities, what are the directions that you have for the council members to not only one, share that information in a mass communication kind of way, but also when we're approached by residents that have those questions, what are our instructions to be able to, where do we send them? Who do we send them to? Is it every church in the city? Is it every nonprofit in the city? Kind of what are your directions for us to be able to fulfill those requests?
The directions to fulfill those requests are to fill those people through me or Miss Lillian Lowe, the co-founders of Stonecrest Cares. And what we'll be able to do is to let them know, because as we work with different nonprofits, then we have different information available for different individuals as to where we can get the information directly from them. So again, last week, we basically were working with these nonprofits, just like we were working with other companies. So for now, just have them contact me and I'll be more than happy to direct them to where they need to go based on their need and what we have available.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good information because there have been some requests, just kind of, as I'm walking through the grocery store or, in the Family Dollar,
Yeah,
around, I heard you all having that conversation.
yeah,
Where do I go for those funds? And in my mind, I was almost seeing a process similar to what you're doing with small businesses, where they could go fill out an application, put what their need is, and receive those
mhm,
funds. But it sounds like we've gone down a different direction. So it's good to be able to understand how we're fielding that,
yeah.
and
And it was
send
best,
those.
yeah, it was best for us councilwoman to go in that direction because again, we had to be very clear as to what business Stonecrest Cares was in. Okay, so we are a resource. So as this resource, we wanted to be able to make sure that we utilize those nonprofits that were already in the business of doing what they do well, so that they can to continue to do well. So I'm in contact with all different types of nonprofits, individuals. Let me know when certain grants and programs are available so that we can assist in that way and also assist in other ways in terms of figuring out who are those nonprofits that provide that need that we have for our communities. And we figured that way, not only do we help in a better way, but we're able to leverage the dollars that we have so we can get a better outcome on the end. Because quite as it's kept, we can help people today, but based on how the COVID, how COVID is raging out there with the increases of positive cases and where we stand, it's going to be a while. And so we wanted to be able to serve the needs of the people past December 31st in terms of being able to utilize the best resources we could to allow us to have some type of momentum going so that we could serve people as we head into the new year as well, working with these nonprofits who already do that anyway.
Yeah, so you bring a good point, and this may also help explain a little bit more how we're doing what we're doing.
Mhm.
Have we, and I don't remember the dollar amount off the top of my head, and I apologize. But I do know that you all restructured where it was like kind of 50% almost on the dollar, 50% went to small businesses and 50% went to Stonecrest Cares. So um, as far as administratively for the COVID relief funds, has the Stonecrest Care side just taken that amount and equally divided it to those nonprofits and those churches to be able to assist with those needs? Or kind of how did you determine how much of that COVID funds went to each nonprofit that you're directing, our residents to fulfill that need?
Utilize the same process that you would utilize with any business because a nonprofit is just a business. It's just that they're mission oriented. And so what we did was we found out, what are the needs and the services that you provide currently? And in order for you to provide those services to larger amounts of people, what amount would you need in order to do that? And we based it just like on the regular applications where we're asking these for-profit businesses, what is that need that you have in order for you to keep your business open or in order for you to expand your business or keep your business running? The same questions we ask businesses, we ask nonprofits. And so based on that, what need would it take for you to develop this program so that you could help the people of Stonecrest, help our citizens in this area to serve the needs of these many people? What would be the need if you had the opportunity to have that need? And that's what we based it on. We
So
based it
there
on,
is an application process for the nonprofits
yes,
similar to the small
there is
business?
there is an application because they are a business. A lot of people look at nonprofits as being different, but they are a business. It's just that what they are in the business of, and they're in the business of service. So because of that service aspect of the business, we're able to utilize that and we're able to serve more people as opposed of taking half and half of the money to do things. We're able to do it a lot more, we're able to do it better and be more effective with it. So again, like I said, so that we could have the momentum to spread it across the board to service the needs. Because see, one of the things that I know, having run a nonprofit myself, is that at the end of the day, we know what it costs for us to be able to provide that service. So in providing that service, where do we go within the city of Stonecrest where people are already doing it? It's been amazing to me to learn how many people and different nonprofits in this community are providing services that we already need them to provide instead of taking a dollar for dollar amount, using it to provide it when we're not even in the business of providing that, and they are. So that's kind of like how we did it. And once we get a little bit more momentum going this week, we'll be more than happy to break down those amounts so you can actually see what they are. And at the end, kind of see what type of impact dollars that we're giving. Let me use the scholarships for an example. The scholarships that we're going to be able to provide for our kids are going to be somewhere between 30 to $50 million. So for just
Is that
a
of COVID
fraction-
funds?
No, this is just money for college based on relationships with nonprofits who are already in the business of providing the service.
Right.
So what we're able to do for just pennies on the dollar in terms of helping these nonprofits provide the services is that we're able to utilize a program that can provide 30 to $40 million in scholarship funds for our kids to go to school when we only had to invest a small amount. And I think that's allowing us the opportunity to be very smart and very poignant in terms of how we're going to be utilizing these services for people. And that's the part that I really love, because again, nonprofits serve the community. They're already doing it. So what it does for them, it increases their brand and their exposure and allows us to utilize them while we can take dollars and utilize them to help more businesses accomplish what we need them to accomplish. So that's basically how we're doing it. And I
Sure.
think
And I don't disagree that that's a
Yeah.
unique, most certainly a unique way of fulfilling the need for our
Yes.
community. I was just more curious, and maybe Mr. Boone will include this in his report, but I was a little bit more curious about the administrative side of how we are actually delineating those funds, who is getting them, what's the dollar amount, are they qualifying to be a recipient of those funds based on the COVID law? I was looking for more of the administrative details
Okay.
on how we're doing that portion
And I
of
think I
COVID.
think we'll be able to give you a little bit more administrative details after we have an opportunity for our administrative parts of the team to gather those for you, because the task that we have at hand is for us to be able to get to as many people as possible in need, and so we'll be able to get you those numbers as we're able to combine them together in terms of in a way that will be sufficient for you guys to look and see how well we're servicing the needs of the community.
So is that releasing of those funds included in your process for small businesses? Like, have any nonprofits received any COVID relief funds yet? Have any?
Yes, some nonprofits have received some COVID relief funds, promises of funds based on the amount that they said that they would be able to need in order for them to provide the services that we knew they were capable of providing based on the needs that we had for the community.
Okay. And that application process is already in place. I guess I'm
Yeah.
trying to
It's no
figure out if
different.
that's
It's
all
no-
one. Are you saying that's all
no-
one process, or have you divided that process?
It's
It's
one
two-
process. It's just like the process for a small business, a for-profit business would be different than a nonprofit business, because when you're looking at for-profit, you're looking at a lot of other different factors. Whereas with nonprofits, you're looking more in a service kind of way. So even though nonprofits are in the business to make money, most of the time they're usually trying to figure out what funds do we need in order for us to sustain ourselves and to continue to provide the service. So it's a little bit different because their needs are smaller, because they're not trying to make so much of a profit, even though they should be run like any other business. So that's just what makes it a little bit different, if that makes sense. Does it make
Maybe.
sense?
uh,
Let me give you
maybe
a
it's
let me give-
another a conversation,
Yeah.
maybe not collectively, because I know we
Yeah.
only got a few more minutes, but
I do want to
May
give
I-
some
may
other
I
council
suggest
members, let me
one
come
thing?
back to you.
Yeah, may I suggest one thing?
Uh-huh.
Because I do think this is important information that Councilwoman Carver was seeking.
Uh-huh.
But I think the reports, we should have probably two reports, or an administrative report, somewhat of an oversight type report that says, here's what we're doing, here's how we're doing it, here's the behind the scenes, here's the nuts and bolts, here's how we're vetting. And I'm talking as a member of the committee, myself and Councilman Turner, so we know the nuts and bolts that are going on, but and then have another report that actually addresses the outcome and how who we're helping and how we're facilitating, how we help people. And I think that way we can sort of put things in different buckets and deal with the buckets. And so
Right.
that way, not saying that we should not address these issues. I'm saying that we should specifically address these issues, but we should do it in a different bucket.
Okay.
Yeah, so as I
Can I
stated.
ask a question?
Councilman Rob Turner, please.
Thank you. Ms. Settle, question for you. I have been getting those calls in reference to what Councilwoman Cobble was saying. As a matter of fact, I received one today and I did forward that information to you and Ms. Lowe. My question, I guess, is because we do have limited COVID funds, how many nonprofits, or is there a limit to the amount of nonprofits that we'll be working with?
We haven't come up with a limit as to how many we'll be working with. All we know is that we know what the services that need to be rendered. And based on those services, we are actually working with these nonprofits either through their application, or we're calling these nonprofits as well through a verbal application as we're going through everything, finding out, what have you done? Give us an idea of what you would need to be able to provide this service. We know that based on the community, these are things that you've done in the past. In terms of working with us, what would it cost for you to do these things here with us? And that's basically how we've been utilizing it. And it's been working really well. Because again, a lot of times there are services that are going on around us that we don't even have a clue that are being provided by nonprofits. So that's basically how we've been doing it. So it is a vetting process in terms of, we're just not willy-nilly trying to find a nonprofit somewhere, but we're looking and finding out who are these businesses in the city of Stonecrest that have been doing business and doing it well. But all that's happening is that they're lacking the funds that they need so that they can provide the service that they need in order to get to more people.
Right.
So
No,
if nonprofits are coming to me or talking to me, should I just forward them to you? And then
Yes,
you will
just forward them to me.
vet them in reference to what the needs are for the city.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, I'll work with vetting them, and we'll also have there's also another committee that will come behind me and vet behind me. So it's not like I decide and that's the final answer. I mean, we're diplomatic in terms of how we're going to provide that service to the community, but we know we're in a time crunch. We also know there's an extreme need, and we also are making people accountable for what they need to do and for them to be great stewards of what they're doing. That's the bottom line.
right.
Councilman Clanton, can we hear from Councilwoman Grimes, and I'm gonna come back to you.
Sure.
She hasn't chimed in yet.
Yes, thank you so much. Most appreciative, Ms. Settle, for what you're speaking of. I just would like to have more clarity for my own personal edification, if you will. So I'll be contacting you in the next day or so, if you don't mind, so that you can explain this to me and we don't have to take this time here. But what I am concerned about is I had a situation where a resident called and said, hey, I am having rent issues. And the information that was shared with me was the only way to help right now, and it may have changed, but the only way to help right now is to have your landlord apply for the small business / landlord / whatever it was for the landlord to do, and then have the resident to say, hey, landlord, did you apply? Because those funds should be able to help you help me. So am I hearing something different now, that a resident who contacts me as their council person to say, hey, I'm having an issue, they can contact you directly, and there's a nonprofit that has already been identified to help with rent assistance?
Right. Or because as a matter of fact, there are a couple of resources that we have that can help them with rental assistance. And one thing we're not doing is we're not writing out any checks to individuals. We're not doing,
that's good to know.
because we can't track that. We don't know how we can track that. We don't want somebody taking a check and buying Christmas, when they should be paying for their rent. So from that standpoint, there are different places where they can go. There are also grants that are available through the county of DeKalb and Fulton that will pay for rent.
You have that information for the okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Super. Now, second thing, something that just kind of pierced me. You said verbal application. Help me understand the
Okay, I'll give you an idea. Let's just say, for example, that we've already marketed why we want to have people to apply for different applications, right? And there's some lull time in the day. Let's just say that we're sitting around and we're like, you know what? Let's contact these couple of nonprofits that we've already identified that provide a service, and we basically just call them up. We call them up and we go through the application process to find out, tell me about the services that you provide. We've heard that you've done a lot in the community in terms of the services. Can you tell me what types of things you would like to do in the community if you had the resources to do those things? So that's what I'm talking
What
about.
other documentation, I got you. What other documentation would be required of that initial verbal application? They
Well,
still
also
require-
we need to know that you are definitely a 501c3, that you are in fact a nonprofit. And also we'd like to see some type of proof of your business in terms of what you do, whether it's through your website, whether it's through a referral that you will have, or something that we could look at to see what you're doing in the community. And then working with those people who you've already helped in the past. So that's what we're looking in terms of vetting, because I basically have not slept. I can't tell you, I haven't slept in a couple of weeks, because we're constantly figuring out what type of service we need, who do we know in the city that can provide that service, and how we can get in contact with them so that they can know that there is help available if they are in the position where they can provide the services. So
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
One thing that comes to mind is and if I may jump in, one such opportunity is, as you probably know, we get all types of opportunities coming from different places. When we heard about the King's Table over at New Birth Church, we were able just to reach out to them after we heard about the program, and then set up our meal delivery for that program. So where now we did last Saturday before last at King's Table, and then we'll be doing the first 3 Saturdays in December. We'll be providing 1,000 meals per Saturday at New Birth Church through the King's Table. So that was a case of sort of just hearing about the program, and really to Iris's point, what we're doing is there are already programs in place, already doing these types of things, instead of us reinventing the wheel and starting a new program from scratch, which is also kind of expensive because of the administrative cost in doing those types of things. Partnering with existing nonprofits, providing them with the funds for them just to scale and build their program to scale. So
and this is the last piece I'll say while I have my turn here. If you will, I just want us to be very, very mindful of having the documentation so that it does not give the appearance that just because I'm District 5 and I like the King's Table, that the King's Table is going to get it just because it's in District 5. You know what I'm saying? I want us to be mindful that everybody is going through the same process, no matter what they provide for the citizens of Stonecrest. And even, because the King's Table is a blessing to more than just District 5 and Stonecrest. There are people who come all over for that. But I just want us to be sure that when because it kind of seems a little, I won't say, it just seems like the nonprofits should know that we got this money over here and they should be beating at the door to get what we have. And I understand that we may have to go to them for those who don't know, but I just want us to be very, very careful and cautious that we toe the line so that nobody can come back and say that Councilwoman Grimes got to get all of everybody in District 5 because District 5 is the largest and the best. No, I don't want it to be said like that. I want it to be that everybody in District 5, District 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 had to fill out the application, even if Iris talked to them up front. So,
I want to get Councilman Clanton back in.
One thing, can I just add one thing? Many of us have already had experience dealing with federal funding. So we're very much understanding the process, and no one's trying to do anything out of turn or not be a servant ourselves of what we're doing. So we're very much aware of that. So the process that we handle is a process that we handle with each person. It's just a matter of us being clear on what these nonprofits can provide, so that we can make sure that the residents at the end of the day, they are served the service that is lacking right now during COVID.
Councilman Clanton.
I yield.
One last thing, I guess, before we move on, that was one of our guiding principles for the committee, was that all of the funding that we do provide is all auditable, so that we can come back and make sure that we can account for all of the funds that have been distributed out of our funds as well. Okay.
Yeah. That was my biggest point, and that is that we create a paper trail that will be easy to follow, because we're going to have to account for everything that we are doing. So let's get a regular report from this area. So will that come separate or come in the same report we're getting through Mr. Boone?
Yeah, so this will, Mr. Boone, basically we sort of bifurcated the committee into the small business piece and the Stonecrest Cares piece, and but there'll be one report for the Stonecrest COVID Cares relief program. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Mr. Denmark.
He's muted.
Ms. Hazard.
Yes.
That was another item I wanted to just mention as we close the meeting in reference to closing the meeting. We had a meeting on November 2, which closed rather abruptly, and I questioned whether or not we followed protocol on that. So I want to submit something to the legal staff to take a look at and establish a protocol on how to close a meeting so that we're not left hanging. As far as I'm concerned, that meeting is still open. So we need a protocol in place to make that happen. I did draft something that I want to forward to you so we can get it on one of the other agendas. And it's called a protocol for ending a virtual meeting.
Okay.
Just to put that out there, that was left with a lot of concern that the meeting was not properly closed. And it was one person gave the command to shut it down, and that needs to be clarified as to how that should or should not work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Given that, do we have anything else for the work session?
Mr. Deputy, I'm sorry, Deputy.
Yes, sir. That's fine.
Mayor Pro Tem, the meeting that you're referencing, are you saying you got an idea or proposal for closing a city council meeting or for closing a work session? Because it seems like they would be
closing any meeting that's been called by council.
Okay.
There needs to be a process for closing the meeting, and we need to follow a process.
Mhm.
And I don't think one person just saying, "Yep, I've heard I want to hear, close the meeting." I don't think that is following any protocol. There was no motion for adjournment, no acclamation for adjournment. We need a process.
Yeah, because my thing is that with work sessions, there's no formal, I mean, we just close work session at any time. But what you're not really talking about ending the meeting, you're talking about disconnecting the communication with the public. It's kind of like turning out the lights.
Yeah, I mean, who can just
Okay.
turn out the lights
Okay,
when you have an official meeting
okay. Thank
in
you.
progress? Okay, so we're gonna, in fact, I'll send you a copy of the draft and we can discuss it and see if it's worth moving forward.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, not to believe us, I know we're about to end, but generally we're following Robert's rules. And I advise all of my clients that Robert's rules were really never designed with local government meetings in mind. And GMA has some model parliamentary procedure rules that are well suited to local governments, precisely what we do. And I always recommend that the body at least consider those and officially adopt those rules of parliamentary procedure, which were designed with local governments in mind, as opposed to Robert's rules, which are kind of clumsy and antiquated and ill-suited to local government meetings.
And with that, GMA also references Robert's rules and a lot of what they put together. And I do understand they have one that's probably tailored and it's not exactly to Robert's rule, but they do reference Robert's rules quite often as a guide to putting our rules together. So just to put it out there, they're just ready for discussion, whether it winds up on another work session or a regular session, it is worth bringing some clarity. Okay, given that, we've satisfied all items on the agenda, and unless there are any objections, hearing none.
I see on the jump start, I see that the ice skating rink in Stonecrest, is that a old agenda?
You know, you're correct. then are you gonna, and I will entertain a motion to move this item for discussion to the regular, well, I won't entertain a motion. I think I have I'll tell you what, just as a suggestion, let's bring it up in the regular meeting and see if we can add it to the regular meeting.
That'd be fine.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, was there a presentation for this? Was there somebody going to present this information to us? Because if so, maybe we can move it to the presentation part of the next agenda.
Yeah, Brandon Riley of the Parks and Rec Department is going to give a very brief update on where we are with the ice skating rink.
Okay. Then that being the case.
It could fall under presentations.
Okay. Okay, then that being the case, do we need a motion, Mr. City Attorney, to end this meeting, since we didn't cover all the items?
Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to end the work session.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we end the work session for November 23rd, 2020.
Second.
It's been probably moved and seconded that we adjourn. I end the meeting for work session November 23rd, 2020. All in favor? Ready for the question?
Yes.
All in favor say aye. Starting with District 1.
Aye.
2,
Aye.
3.
Aye.
4 is aye. 5.
Aye.
5-0. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.